want to take some time to talk about human trafficking, and this is a trigger warning. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist, and in light of everything that's come out this week and has sort of been looming over our heads for a while on the news and whatnot, I wanted to just take some time to talk about this as a professional who's worked with victims of human trafficking and who's also treated people who are the traffickers as well, from working in corrections for a number of years. So, in light of everything that we've been seeing on the news and so forth this week, and what's been sort of looming over our head for quite some time now, I just want to take this time to give a gentle reminder that this is we're basically watching um, people who didn't agree to this. Their lives are being put on a public stage for all of us to see. A lot of victims don't even know that this stuff exists until it becomes public. And this is something that generally happens with trafficking victims who are videotaped and photographed, against their will, under duress, or in many cases, even while unconscious. You have people that are just now discovering that they are now in photo and video form, and that people have been looking at this for forever. There's a different type of trauma that exists or comes from your personal business being displayed, on the World Wide Web that no one can sort of comprehend, particularly if you are a child or a vulnerable adult, someone who is coerced or forced into doing something that you don't want to. The release of the files can also be triggering in a way that it actually causes people to have a mental breakdown. So again, that's someone's life and livelihood that we're talking about. And these are things that people have had to wrestle with, for years, quietly behind the scenes on their own, and try to come to terms with. But it's a whole different beast when, your business is put out there publicly and other people see it. They're able to comment on it, ridicule, make judgments, or even just know who you are. Many victims of trafficking, a lot of times, they don't always know who their perpetrators are, for the simple fact that they are usually given things to be in an altered state of mind. So they may have a fuzzy memory or a memory that's not there, all the way, where they know something happened, but they don't know who it was or what all happened. And with the release of files and information like this, now everything is sort of thrown into their face. That can trigger a breakdown of sorts, and things that may last for years to come. An example of this is something that recently happened with the Puff Daddy, Sean Diddy Combs documentary, where information was released about a woman and she didn't know. And that information, again, something that was done for a movie for our entertainment, triggered her to have a mental breakdown, and she didn't do so well after that. A lot of people who deal with this have nightmares for forever. They have trust issues, and they may be fearful, particularly in this case where you have, um, you know, perpetrators or alleged perpetrators that are walking around free, seemingly without consequences. These perpetrators can be both men and women, but a lot of times these victims don't necessarily know who their perpetrators are, and they can't always identify them. Some do, but some, in a lot of cases, they don't. Or they may know who some of the perpetrators are, but they don't know who all of them are. And a lot of them don't know that these videos and these pictures exist. So they're finding out just like we're all seeing them for the very first time. Can you imagine seeing yourself on something for the very first time that you had no idea even existed? That may trigger, a series of events which may lead to anxiety, depression, PTSD, not wanting to leave your home, wanting to actually take your own life, and all sorts of things. Substances may come into play. In having worked with traffic victims over the years, especially men, a lot of men who have experienced it as boys, that is their pipeline to prison in a lot of cases. But the same can also be said for women. It changes the structure of your brain, and it changes the trajectory of your life and how you see yourself, the world, and people who are in it. Imagine, you know, experiencing a life where the boogeyman is real and in the flesh. And, a lot of people happen to like and love your boogeyman, and your boogeyman seems to get a lot of accolades and has a huge fan club. Your boogeyman can also wear a badge or be an important person that is above the law or is supposed to uphold the law in many cases as well. The irony and the contradiction and the fear, knowing that the rules don't apply to your boogeyman and he can come and get you and not be punished like we've been lied and told that people are punished. Many victims of trafficking suffer from paranoia, of course, PTSD, but, paranoia. And they may struggle with, locking themselves in their home, having an arsenal of weapons and things of that nature, feeling like they need to protect themselves at all times and keep the boogeyman out. There are also some that struggle with anger and frustration, particularly at themselves, and particularly when they can't remember who or what happened to them. Most importantly, who walking among us knows more about what happened to me than I know about what happened to me. There absolutely needs to be justice when it comes to people who are being trafficked. And I'm not talking about, a perpetrator who's lost a job. I'm talking about justice where they're stripped of everything. And, everyone needs to be given the same treatment here. I've talked to you guys many times about how I've worked with disproportionately large populations of Black and brown men who are incarcerated for sex offenses. And don't get me wrong, sex offenders do need to be in prison or be kept away from harming anybody else, but that justice also needs to be given out adequately amongst men of other races too, particularly of white men and women who are sex offenders as well, because I do think a large number of white women get a pass as well when it comes to um, the judicial system and getting punishment for their crimes against children and people. After all, isn't that what our tax dollars pay for? Isn't that what we've been told our whole life, about safety and security and justice and things of that nature? Where is justice in this case? So let me know what you guys think. I'm anxious to hear your thoughts and what you have to say about it. But, my heart is definitely with, people who are being trafficked. Um, and, there's no words to express, but I've seen this every day, and I've seen people whose lives have been destroyed, unfortunately, over this kind of stuff. And it's hard to kind of sit with them sometimes, because I get it. But at the same time, it's not right. It's not okay. Well, hope that helps. Thank you guys so much.